All right, everybody, this is the June 2020 Double Regional SCCA event at Buttonwillow Raceway. We are using the traditional off-ramp and the sweeper and the full Riverside, the dogleg and Riverside sections of the track. So this is the warm-up lap, and I'm running a 2004 Pro Formula Mazda, and we are on the formation lap. So I will pick it up here as soon as we begin the race. You might notice that I have a new helmet this season. Veneratio Designs, Daniel, did an amazing job on the helmet. He's a super talented helmet painter. I like to get a new helmet, each season or every other season. But he did a brilliant job with this paint scheme. Goes well with the race car. As you can see, just getting warmed up here, warming up the tires, and going back and forth to try to get some heat in the tires. It was a very, very warm weekend. June in Buttonwillow is really hot, and this weekend it was in excess of 100 degrees, which creates a greasy condition on the track, and thus you give up grip. Ideally, the ambient temperature would be around 70 degrees with the track temperature around 100. Here with an ambient temperature in the 90s at race time, track temperature is probably in the 120s. It's very, very hot. So I believe we are about to begin the race. Just pointing the guy who is on the left in front of me in a different group over so that I can get into the proper spot. This is the final turn on the track, which is called Sunset, and that leads on to the front straightaway at Buttonwillow. So you can see the red lights are flashing on my car because the motor in my car is being replaced after this race. Here we go, we're starting the race. I get a decent start, nothing great. I'm always cautious at the start of these races, especially at Buttonwillow, because there's a lot of incidents here in this first turn, which is Sunrise. So you can see the red lights are going off, which means the temperature in my motor is high. It was running around 240 degrees, which is hot. We're not sure if it's a sensor issue, if the motor was actually running that hot. We're having a lot of trouble with that motor. Like I said, that motor's coming out of the car after this race, and a fresh motor being put in. But in the meantime, we're running here first in class at the moment. If you can see in my rear view mirror there, which you'll see for the entire race, is my teammate Robert Merritt. And where he catches me is right here going through Riverside. My line is a bit high. You can see my grip isn't great. And he's definitely on my tail. I seem to do a pretty good job everywhere else on the track at making some distance from him, but at that point on the track through Riverside, as you'll see during the race, I don't do as tidy of a job as I should. This is the sweeper. You can see, just looking at my front right tire, it's got a lot of graining on it. It's definitely getting worn out. There's probably 7 or 8 heat cycles on these tires. They're ready for the garbage can. But I ran them in the race knowing that it was going to be hot and slick, and I would just do my best. I ended up winning, being first in class in Formula Atlantic, which I'm really proud of, and beating my teammate Robert, who historically is beaten me over and over and over again. He has a lot more experience, but still he also has done a really, really great job at learning a car and how to race competitively. So most racetracks I'm chasing him, but today, as you can see in my rearview mirror, he's chasing me. So there's actually a car between us. There's a red and white, I think, Formula Enterprise between he and I. And at some point I'll let him go by so he can race with his Formula Enterprise, the other Formula Enterprise cars. So here we are onto the back straightaway. This is a very, very fast section of the course. It's a long straightaway. We'll get into 6th gear, 130 something miles an hour. And in the right conditions, this is flat here. My line is probably a little high, as you can see, and there he goes. But just having a really hard time on super old tires, getting good grip. So I'm giving up a little bit of lap time because of that, but I feel good about my progress and feel good about, winning my class. Anyway, I'll take you on a couple of laps. This is a sweeper. It leads onto what they call the S's, and they're a series of left, right turns, which leads up to the final turn on the track, which is Sunset. Sunset's a third gear left-hander. So down the third, onto the front straightaway. We'll get up to 4th, and then 5th, and then very hard braking zone for Sunset. Down 1 gear to 4th, through Sunset, track out all the way to the right. We'll turn in for off-ramp, down to 2nd. Little touch the first apex, wide of the 2nd apex, track out here to the left, up to 3rd gear, and then to 4th gear, coming down what they call I-5. Hard braking zone down to 3rd. Turn in to Cotton Corners. It's an elevated, kind of short S's section. This leads on to Grapevine, and up the hill there, and down the back straightaway, which is called Dogleg, as you'll see right here is a dogleg, and then into Riverside, which theoretically would be flat. I'm coming off the accelerator a little bit, and I'm maybe a little wide of where I should be going through there. I'd like to be a little tighter through there. You can see Robert in my side view mirror there is on my tail. This is down through Phil Hill, and then I'll picking up the drag strip onto the sweeper. So we'll go through the sweeper here in 3rd gear, apex right there, and then back onto the S's, left, right, left, hard on the power all the way through there. That's a flat section. We'll get up to 5th, and then up to 6th before hard braking, and down 3 gears to 3rd, again down the front straightaway, up to 4th, and then up to 5th, and then hard braking, down 1 gear to 4th gear through Sunrise. You can take this turn a lot faster than it looks. Track out to the right, and then back into the right here, to the left here for off-ramp. Then up the I-5, headed towards Cotton Corners. We'll get up to 4th gear here, and then about halfway down the curbing, hard braking down to 3rd. Stay right here, stay left through Cotton Corners, over the top through Grapevine, and then we'll turn here through Grapevine, 4th gear up the hill, then to 5th, and then eventually to 6th through the dogleg. Again, we'd like to hold it flat through Riverside in ideal conditions. 100 degrees with old tires is not ideal conditions. You can see I can't get the car down as far as I would like to the apex there. I'm about a car width outside of the apex, which allows Robert to get right on my tail. This is up Phil Hill, over Phil Hill, down the hill. We'll go to 4th gear, to 5th gear, and then down to 3rd gear for the sweeper. We'll go around the sweeper in 3rd gear, and then down to the apex there, and then through the S's. Again, this is flat, so we'll get to 4th gear, and then to 5th gear, and then eventually to 6th gear, going towards Sunset. And like I said, at Sunset, we'll go down 3 gears to 3rd before turning in. And that is a couple of laps at Buttonwillow. We can listen to native audio for a while, and just watch Robert and I go at it. probably 6 or so classes that run within our race, and that's just because there's not enough of the Pro Formula Mazdas to make up the entire group. So we run with other groups, some of which are faster than us, even some cases, believe it or not, much faster than us. Some prototypes and things that have a tremendous top end speed down the long straightaway. And you see the blue lights are flashing in the car. Again, the motor is showing that it's running really hot. It's an old motor. It's leaking oil. It has trouble starting. It's got a lot of issues and problems. We are just lucky to limp this thing home through this weekend so that we could get a fresh motor in for the next event here in the end of July at Laguna Seca Raceway in Salinas near Monterey. The weather's always cool, track temperature is always ideal there. You know, never too hot, so you can really run in ideal conditions there, where here at Buttonwillow, especially in the summertime, it gets to be extremely hot. And like I said, it was a high temperature this weekend we ran was around 107. It's near Bakersfield. It just gets to be very hot in the summertime. This is actually a rescheduled event from, I think, April, and because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they rescheduled this race until June and ran the races, you know, in the morning, trying to get everybody off the track before noon or 1 o'clock, but still, you know, super hot ambient temperatures even that early in the day. There's a car off on the right, and there's a yellow flag. I'm going to slow down just a little bit to make sure there was nothing I was going to hit. By looking in the mirror there that Robert is all over me. I think I can smell his cologne from inside my car just so close. And he does do a good job of catching me to the riverside. He seems to have some more grip than I do. And I just think that the car down to the apex without lifting substantially. And I don't want to lift substantially because I don't want him to drive past me. So I'm just kind of on the razor's edge through there. Everywhere else on the track, I do feel like the balance of the car was pretty good. The grip was pretty good. The engine seemed to be pulling fine. I'll be interested to see when we go back to Buttonwillow in October if the lap times are quicker, or maybe even just top speeds quicker. It'll be a different track configuration. At Buttonwillow, there's maybe, I don't know, 15 or so different track configurations, and then they've been running either clockwise, like we're running this weekend, or counterclockwise, where we run the opposite way, which is essentially like a whole different track. So the great thing about going to Buttonwillow is there's a, like I said,
ultimately 20 to 40 different track configurations. So it's great because it's like running on a different track every time we run there. This is a real test of will, because when someone is running as close to the rear of your car as Robert is throughout this entire race, it's like having to run qualifying laps every single lap, and you can see him right there in my mirror. I mean, he's right on top of me. And any mistake I make, he'll pounce on it and go by. And I'm really proud of myself that I didn't make any mistakes and was able to keep Robert behind, which is not easy. Robert's very talented, very smart. He's a Navy officer for 28 years. He's very adept at driving a race car. And I know any mistake that I would make, he would take advantage and drive past me. So it was incumbent on me, even through this section of the track, which I couldn't get all the way down to the apex over and over again, but this is where he catches up over and over again. I work so hard during the lap to get some distance from him, only to lose it there in Riverside, just because my grip level was low and I just couldn't get the car all the way down to the apex flat. Here's the sweeper. Tough. You can see I'm losing grip. Car is sliding a little bit. And it's not because the car's unbalanced, it's just super hot with worn out tires, so it's just hard to get real good grip. The hotter the ambient temperature gets, the more slippery the track gets, because the oil seeps up through the track and it just creates, you know, almost like a wet condition. It's just really, really give up a lot of grip. And the longer the race goes, not only am I conscious about Robert, but I'm also now looking ahead to the lap traffic that we're catching. You can see this fella here that we're catching in the black. He's in a previous generation Mazda to the one we're driving. So now I'm thinking, I'm going to be catching this lap traffic. I'll be going slow in some sections. Will it give Robert the opportunity to get by me? So hopefully I can get by this guy going down here through the back straightaway through the dogleg section of the track. I'm trying to do that right now, as you can see. I'm trying to keep Robert behind me. So we went past the slower traffic and he's still behind. You can see him though, he's moving around behind me. He definitely is looking for an opportunity to get by, and he's also letting me know he's there. And but he does not need to know. I am keenly aware that he is there. And all the while, blue lights still going off on the dashboard as the motor continues to run in the 240s, which is way too hot. You can see the wheel. I'm having my car's getting loose mid-corner, and I'm having to catch it with the wheel there through the sweeper. And I'm just pushing as hard as I can. You can see I get some gap from Robert on some parts of the track, but I lose all that in Riverside lap after lap. I think he's flat or close to flat and I am not. I think, I don't know if his tires were newer or if he's just better at it, but it's very, very tough to hold it down through Riverside on a track where there's not a lot of grip. You can see it, this Robert got really close, as you can see him right behind me in my mirror. He's going to try to go by, he's going to try to stick his nose in, but I'm able to pull a little bit of gap through here. You can see he sticks his nose in. I think he's going to try to take me down the inside here going into, but he just doesn't quite have enough. So there's a car off on the left there, so I'm conscious of him. And I'll tell you, watching this recording and doing the audio, it does seem like the race is very long when you're inside the car. It's about 30 minutes. It seems like 2 hours. Obviously, there's no pit stops. It's a sprint race. And with a guy like Robert, who's super talented, on my tail the whole time, I have to be on point and really drive my best and my hardest and maintain my 100% concentration through the entire race, which is 30 minutes going 10/10 is challenging, especially for me and other people with my ADD type condition. So for those of you ADD sufferers, maybe auto racing would be good for you to take up. There's some more lap traffic, and this is kind of getting a little sketchy here because we're coming to the end of, we're going in through Riverside here. It's a very high-speed section. You just got to be careful that we don't touch each other going 135 plus miles an hour through there. But we clear him nicely. And pull a little bit of gap again from Robert, although he does manage to catch up again on the next lap as we come through Riverside, as you'll see. Traffic up ahead. So I'm already thinking about how am I going to pass this guy without putting myself in the trick bag so that Robert can get by me. All the while, blue lights showing high temp on the motor still going off, and I can see it. I'm thinking about it and hoping the motor doesn't blow up. But as my crew chief Bob Morris astutely says, Daryl, you just got to get through the next 25 minutes and we can put a new motor in. So this guy sticks his hand out, which is very gracious of him to allow me to go by. He knows that I'm quicker. So he allows me to go by and allows Robert to go by as well. And we're getting towards the end of the race, and I know Robert's thinking that he knows he's running out of laps. So I think at some point he might get a little more aggressive. We're also teammates, so the last thing we want to do is collide with one another. A little bit better. Can't get all the way down to the apex, but it was better than at the beginning of the race. Here's a sweeper. So a good idea of how much grip is to watch my hands on the wheel. The steadier I can hold the wheel, the better. When I make corrections, it just means that I'm losing grip through the corner. let's see if this is the white flag lap. Let's take a look at the starter stand on the left, see if he's waving the white flag. Not yet. And I'm thinking to myself in the car, man, it seems like this is going on forever. And maybe that's just because I got Robert Meds breathing down my neck. You can see him back there. He's a bit back behind me a few car lengths, as you can see in my side view mirror there. But I believe he will catch up again through Riverside. There's the white flag. One more lap. I'm catching another car in front of me, and I'm thinking, is this guy gonna, on the very last lap, is this guy gonna hold me up, and is Robert gonna get by? So I really need to think about how I'm gonna go by Tom. This is Tom Van Wee in a Formula X in front of me, and I know he sees me, and I figure I'll just go down the inside here before we get to Cotton Corners, and he very graciously doesn't move over, and this enables me to get a little more space between Robert and I, although I do lose some ground. I made a little mistake there. But I know this is the last lap, so this is the last time I need to hit my marks and be as good as I can be to keep him behind. You can see by the wheel how much I'm sawing at it, and I'm losing a lot of grip to Riverside. You can see Robert right there, right behind me in the mirror. I think he might try to go down the inside here at Cotton Corners, but he's just too far back. Again, I'm sawing at the wheel a bit, just trying to keep the car underneath me, knowing that I just got to get through the S's here, and then through Sunset and down the main straightaway, and I will be the winner. One more turn to go. Blue light still flashing, a high engine count. So here we go, and I am coming through the checkered flag, and that is the winner. Very, very pumped up, obviously, about beating Robert. That's the second time I've beaten Robert, but the first time, I think the first time I beat him, he had a flat tire. So it's, I'm obviously very pumped up. So that's the story. Got my first in class there, and June at Buttonwillow 2020. So big thanks to Bob Morris, to Lenny, to Vinny, to Robert, my teammate, to my son Jensen, my daughter Jadyn, who came out to watch me race. I'll show you some posters that they made cheering me on out there for the race weekend. But all in all, great weekend, great to get a victory, and felt really good. Although it felt after I got out of the car like I'd run about a 40-mile marathon. I was just soaked all the way through with the hot temperature and the pressure from Robert that whole race. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Thanks to everybody who supports me.